Hello, everyone. We are very pleased to have this webinar today on balancing the best of both worlds, exploring the harmony of natural and synthetic scents. I will first introduce our guest. So Covalo. Covalo is a data platform who has organized this seminar. And it's a data platform for the consumer goods industry. Covalo's mission is to make the consumer goods industry more transparent and more sustainable. And for this, he helps brands to better connect, collaborate, and transact with their partners, suppliers, packaging, and to find also the right ingredients for the formulation. We are joined today by Heida, Digital Marketing Manager at Covalo. We are very pleased to have you on board, Lisa. Thank you very much to join. So our guest company is Essencia. Essencia is born out Switzerland, a rich landscape over 70 years ago. Essencia specialized in the creation of natural fragrances and perfume and the trade of high-quality essential oils. An appreciation for our planet natural's gift, coupled with an heritage of Swiss excellence. Remained a vital resource for Essencia and his team of fragrance designers who take pride in sourcing the finest natural ingredients from all around the world. So we are very pleased to have also Essencia with us, and I'm sure that the discussion will be very interesting on this exciting topic. So as a moderator, I will start to introduce myself. So I'm Abriat, chemical engineer, founder, and CEO of the Smell and Test Lab, which is a consulting company in research and innovation for health and beauty care. We work with a different type of company, from startup to corporate and SMEs all around the world. After more than 30 years at L'Oréal and Coty, I have developed an expertise on the complete value chain for fragrance, cosmetic, and product development. We master the challenge, of innovation with the development of new ingredients for cosmetic, for example, but also the development of neuroscience studies to prove the benefit of fragrance. And I have the honor to introduce now Richard Illi. Richard Illi is the owner of Essencia and the president, CEO of Essencia. He is president of Swiss Flavor and Fragrance Industry Association also, with 30 years of experience covering the whole step of the fragrance value chain from sourcing to sales. Richard has a global experience of the business. He holds a Master of EPFL, a chemical engineer of the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology at Lausanne, and an MBA business school from IMD, Business School of Management and Leadership at Lausanne also. I will introduce now Céline Larralde Lubin, with a formation of engineer from the School of Industrial Biology, EBI, close to Paris in the north of France. Céline has been working in cosmetic development for more than 20 years. She is the R&D director of Kuryosity Lab, a French company specializing in the development and manufacturing of ingredients and innovative cosmetic treatments. Through this dual activity, Kuryosity works for companies across the world of all sizes and in all sections, ranging from mass market to luxury and prestige brands. They develop exclusive formula for their customers based on their specification that they can produce with our selected industrial partners. So thank you very much, Richard and Céline, to be with us today. So let's jump in the topic. We are here to discuss about this duality, or maybe the synergy between natural ingredients and synthetic ingredients. But first, maybe we can start to define what is natural for Essencia.
Well, thank you, Anne. I should leave the world first to Céline, but to define natural in broader term. But I mean, in Essencia, as you mentioned that, we started 70 years ago with the trading of essential oils here for Swiss SMEs in the cosmetic and personal care industry. And in fact, since then, we have continuously improved our knowledge around essential oils. And then later on, about 60 years ago, we started to use these essential oils in the creation and the production of perfumes. So um, all along the story of Switzerland, sorry, of Essencia, it has been linked to essential oils, to natural product. Of course, like every fragrance houses, we also used for quite a while, and we keep having also some synthetic raw material that we use for our normal, what we call normal fragrances. But mainly 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when I had the chance to acquire Essencia, we decided to focus our attention in terms of development and technical know-how really on the topic of natural fragrances. So we kind of, if you want, refocus the Essencia on mastering the challenges around natural resources, natural essential oils for the use in fragrance, and keep offering, as you said, essential oils of high qualities. So basically, to summarize for us, it has the natural essential oils are at the center of Essencia. And when you use natural ingredients, we do natural fragrances. When we use synthetic ingredients, we do normal fragrances. And then when we resell pure essential oil, it's purely essential oil. So that's basically, if you want, the three portfolio of activities that we have at Essencia.
Thank
Okay.
you very much, Richard. Maybe Céline, you can add some.
Just to be clear on natural ingredient, according to Cosmos standard, the natural ingredient is a substance produced by nature, which comes directly from nature and with a small transformation. And after we've got natural origin ingredient that has undergone with a limited chemical transformation. So it's natural ingredient origin.
To wrap up, it's very clear that you have three, let's say, different offer or portfolio, as Richard, you have explained. And Céline, you also add the definition that Essencia is following, which is a Cosmo definition. And as we know, we can have this 98% of natural ingredients, or we can have, of course, 100%, but depending the sourcing of your ingredients, your natural ingredients, you follow the rules of the industry and the claim.
So maybe if I'm just add on that, I think it's very important this point of which definition you use in I think in natural cosmetic, personal care product as well as in fragrances is the same. You have different norms. You have the ISO norm 16128. You have Natru. You have Cosmos natural, Cosmos organic, and I think they are all having a slight difference in the way they consider what is natural. And in fact, for us as Essencia, we decided to have one clear definition: is 100% natural, which is Cosmos natural, basically. So we follow strictly the Cosmos natural formulation guideline, which we don't think it's better, but I think it's just clear, and it has to be 100% clear, because one thing that we have to avoid is to talk about natural when it's 98% natural, then it's 98% natural. We don't consider that 100%. So maybe that's my Swiss origin that tells me 100% is 100%.
Yes, it's very important. It's also your position also in the Swiss Flavor and Fragrance Industry Association. It's important. Yes, thank you. Now I have I think it could be interesting to maybe project as Céline, you have in your expertise, and as I have also, what values does natural fragrance bring in development, in product development? It can be either fragrance, it can be a body lotion, it can be for a different segment of the beauty industry. It can be skincare, body care, or fragrance. What value, from your point of view, do you think natural bring?
It's really difficult. It's a really difficult question, because the perfume is really important for a brand. It defines the brand universe. So when a brand chooses a natural fragrance, it makes the brand more natural too, if the rest of the formula is also natural. So natural is good, but I cannot say synthetic is not good too. Both are great. It depends of the positioning of the brand.
From your answer, you said that the marketing or the brand, which is
it's the same,
develop the value, will develop or develops the value of naturality and natural of your creation, the creation of Essencia. So I think it's a very important asset, and it's of course very important, very interesting. It depends also on the brand identity. It depends also of the brand, if the brand is very known or not, if it is a new brand or not. What we can maybe develop, and maybe Richard, you can also develop this. I mean, my question was also, and you have also a little bit touched this point, is, for example, yes, as a body lotion, for example, if we develop a body lotion, imagine that we have a brief of a body lotion. If we put a natural fragrance versus, I don't want to say synthetic, but a complex blend, which do you think it could bring from positive or negative? I mean, it can be, and it depends of many parameters. This
I understand. In fact, in formula, the perfume is not a trivial ingredient. It can disrupt the stability of the formula. It can it has to persist over the time in the formula, and even a natural or synthetic, we're having the same problem with both of perfume. So the main problems that we can have for natural, I think, is the persistence over the time. But it depends on the scents. Some scents in natural are really good, some are not. And we have the same problem for synthetic. Some scents are really persistent and not others. And the other problem is allergens. For example, I mean, for natural perfume, it's more difficult to have perfumes without allergen, but it's nature, so we have allergens in nature, so that's normal. But we can have now some industry like Essencia make really good perfumes without allergens. And the other problem will be that it's not possible to have every kind of scents with natural perfumes. For example, we cannot have marine notes or aquatic. It's really difficult to have that kind of notes with natural. I hope they can discover new products that can mix that kind of notes. And the last problems maybe will be the cost of the perfume, because some natural fragrance are more expensive than synthetic. So I think it can be difficult for mass industry to develop product with natural fragrance, but maybe they can solve this problem in the future.
And if I may continue maybe on what Céline was saying, I will go maybe not in the same order, but first in terms of the persistence and long-lastingness of the perfume, yes, it is. If we want to put everything, to generalize, we can say in general terms, the natural perfume will perform a bit less longer than synthetic, depending, as you said, on the olfactive family. Let's say a citrus family, fragrance, synthetic or natural, will perform more or less the same thing, because a lot of the synthetic will already be based on natural as well. So it doesn't change much. But if you take on some very long persistent, let's say ombre or musk families perfume, we don't have the same numbers of ingredients at our disposals. And I think it's the same thing for the olfactive and the price. Basically, the reason why natural perfume are more expensive, why some olfactive families are, none of them are impossible. We can now, we are able to do some marine notes as well, but they are not as, there's not such a variety, there's not such a catalog of marine note that you will be able to get. The reason is because we don't have any single raw materials at the moment that allow us to use, to start with that. So we have to play with accord, to recombine certain natural raw materials together to give the impression of a natural. And we have about 350 raw materials only in the natural perfumery versus 1,500 in what we call the normal perfumery. So of course there are a bit of limitation, but this is the same thing where the talent and the passion of our perfumers and the fact that they've been doing 75 or 80% of their time like other perfume houses that are specialized in natural. I think we are not the only one, but that's why it's very important to really have someone specialized in this and not just doing a couple of natural fragrances when the clients need it, because everybody can do a natural fragrance. But it's a question of how good the fragrance will be, how performing it will be, and so on. And maybe on again the price, yes, the bigger base of raw materials that we have for us to use in natural perfumery is coming from are the essential oils. And we all know, everybody working in formulation or having used one's essential oils versus synthetic raw materials, most of them, they are much more expensive. And that's something we have to work with. So it's a parameter. And that's why, as you mentioned, and I think I don't think it will become mass market. And on top of that, maybe we can even develop that later on once in another webinar, or about the sustainability. Would it be even good for the planet? If we were starting to use natural fragrance instead of synthetic fragrance, let's say replacement 80% of the volume, 50%. Personally, I don't believe that. I think it's better that it remains maybe not niche, but it's used sparsely. I think you say in English, you're really careful on when you use natural perfumes. And I think that's a very important message. Of course, we would love people to use more natural perfumes, but I think it's not something to be used for every application. So I think that's the point I wanted to add. If
it's very interesting, because a recent report from McKinsey shows that the growth in premium segment will continue, and for fragrance, comparing to other categories, the growth 27 projection will be 7%. Or in cosmetic, it will be 5 or 6. But it's interesting also that to see that maybe this natural 100% can be dedicated to premium and luxury and for fragrance segment, I think.
But I think, and on that point, we have this in everyday interaction with our clients when you discuss about project. That's why we try to be right from the start very transparent in terms of the price positioning of the fragrances. They are more expensive, that's for sure. So it is by definition, you exclude a lot of the not the application, but the projects where you could use natural fragrances. So it is kind of a mid to high-end application in terms of price.
And Essencia is a company who is very well positioned, I imagine, in this in this part, because you trade also essential oil comparing to others who are buying through a third party. So that's also an added value. Thank you very much. I think it's interesting. I will maybe add a comment on the different segments, because as you know, I'm working on neuroscience, and we have run some studies to when on the best match between the evocation on a fragrance, on an odor, on a scent. So, for example, a common sense like vanilla, let's say, or lemon, and the match with the image that we have in our mind, in our brain. And it's very interesting to see that natural fragrance is more congruent. You have a better match when you provide yes, a natural fragrance in any kind of segment. But I have worked only on cosmetic for the moment, so it's interesting. So I think it's an added value also. So now we have evoked a little bit the challenge of formulating. So thank you very much, Céline, to give all this detail. In terms of regulatory, you spoke about allergen. So you just mentioned that you can you develop a little bit that you can now develop natural fragrance without allergen? It's because it's really difficult. So
yes, I think it's more for Richard's question. Yeah.
Okay, well, I thank you, Céline. In fact, the short answer, I would prefer to say no, it's still very, very, very challenging. The reason why is because there's two reasons. There's today the situation, I think most of our guests today knows that the EU is going to be officially publishing in about 2-3 months the new allergen list. There will be increase from 26 to 82. And it will have to be declared on the label, reported if it is a certain the normal threshold value for rinse off and leave on, which will make the whole question about allergen-free perfumes, whatever, 100% natural or normal perfume without allergen, even more challenging for perfumers. That's one point. Now, for us in natural perfumery, I don't think that the challenge will be much tougher than what it is today. The reason being that in terms of the essential oils that we use, there's only about a handful of essential oils that you can use. And then we have to use systematically the other type of ingredients that are allowed in natural perfumery. And maybe I can just explain one category which is extremely important, which are the natural aroma chemicals that are these ingredients made by biofermentation. And I think Céline explained that in the definition of Cosmos right at the beginning. This is basically, you take waste guava, for example. I'm sorry, I'm a chemist and I haven't practiced for a long time. So I'm not a biochemist or a biologist, so excuse my biology, but I think you take a reactor with typically pure alcohol, 100% natural. You put waste guava, for an example, you put a couple of bacteria and then you can isolate an aroma chemical which is 100% natural. It has not been into contact with any synthetic. That's why Cosmos Natural, for example, or Natural will recognize this molecule, which will be exactly the same from the chemical structure as the synthetic pendant, which is already existing. And we can use these raw materials to create fragrances. But in terms of having about 800 or 600, as normal perfume we have about 50 to 60. So I think it's very easy. I always take this analogy, try to make the same recipe in your kitchen by decreasing by 10, a factor 10, the number of ingredients that you have. So your spices, everything, you just take 10% only of that and you try to make the same recipes. It's not going to be exactly the same taste maybe at the end. And it will take time. And that's exactly what you master with natural perfumery. But basically, in terms of the allergen, it can also kind of help us to decrease a little bit the gap between what is possible today in normal perfumery versus synthetic. So I think we will remain with very low percentage of perfume, 100% natural perfume that are allergen free, but there will be much less perfume in the normal perfumery available without allergen. And I think after that, as you probably all know, the question is always a question of risk, a question of dosage. And that's why in the industry, a lot of people, a lot of fragrance house, a lot of R&D people talk about allergen, low allergen. That is really a certain maximum of allergen that typically you are behind, below the threshold of declaration, for example. That's of course very liked by the marketing team and the brand, but it's also something to say, okay, it's about yeah, it's about risk. So I think after that, it depends if you agree with this notion of risk or not. If you want to be zero allergen, then I think it's a very tough question in natural versus and also in normal perfumery. And if you say, okay, we are okay if we limit the number of allergen and their concentration, there are more options. So I'm not sure if it was a short answer, but I think it is more or less a complete answer.
It's okay, thank you. And to come back to the different family, olfactive family that you evoke regarding the marine note. Can you also develop, because we know that in fragrance we use, of course, more synthetic molecule to make this marine effect. So you say that you can now provide marine fragrance or marine scent.
I mean, absolutely, we can as we all know, perfumes are there to simulate certain or to give some sensation, or it's all pretty it's not objective, you know. So if you compare purely, I would say marine note synthetic versus marine, you will say, well, okay, it's a bit far stretch. But I think that if you consider in the concept of the brand, you use after that, you know, the colors of the brand, the communication, and you bring a scent that is going in direction of marine note, and that's possible now in terms of then the consumers will say, yes, I think it is quite a marine note. But if you compare like you take, you know, one against them,
Yes.
it's still very limited. Same thing goes for amber, musk, um, leather, this type of very special notes where we have maybe one or two raw materials at our disposal, and the rest we have to do by, as we call a core recombination of different isolate and so on, to try to give the same impression.
No, it's really an art. Thanks to your fragrance designer, I imagine that lots of work. And for fruity notes, because I remember when yes, fruity, but we use also this osmanthus effect, which is, for example, or the cassis. But it's not. It's also challenging.
I mean, fruity notes. It depends on the fruits, like peach or peach and let's say peach is quite a difficult one. Apricot as well. But typically we have, I mean, every year we have maybe one, if we are lucky, two of these new natural aroma chemicals that are coming, or a new isolate or a new extraction, CO2 extraction, that allows us to give a certain note, like watermelon, melon note. It's something that 5 years ago it was very difficult. It was, I wouldn't say impossible, but very difficult, at least for us. And now we have a couple of very clearly identifiable by 100% of the population, like watermelon and melon. Coconut, the same thing.
Yes.
You know, coconuts, there's nothing, but there is a fantastic CO2 extract that is 100% Cosmos natural, and then it just changed the parameters. So it's not yet the same width and the same choice in every olfactive family, but we can cover every olfactive family.
Okay, very interesting. Thank you. And yes, we have also as you have mentioned, it's yes, it's really a balance not to have only natural or only synthetic, but this synergy between natural and synthetic. But it's not only the industry; it's the consumer trends who push to go to this natural. So the regulatory follows, but. Do you fear that we are just creating, that is a question in the chat, another sustainability and environmental problem? Oh yes, and I forgot to tell to all the participants to put your question in the chat because we are going to have a Q&A very, very soon. So please put your question in the chat. Yes, so do you fear this, it's always, a problem of balance, and when you don't respect the balance, you have of course extreme. So you will have people who are really 100% natural and very so with this extreme, do you think that we will, as in an industry point of view, will create another sustainable and environmental problem? Because at the end, the lemon or the orange that we source is from the nature. So
Okay, I think I will start, but then after it will be also interesting that Céline remind us about the way perfume are used in formulation, because at the end of the day, a perfume is usually between 0.5 and 2% of the whole. So it's not just the perfume. I think this question, as you said, it's so as Céline said before, you said it as well. I think first of all, for me, it only makes sense to use a natural perfume if you have a natural brand, a natural cosmetic, because you want to bring to your consumers, to your clients, you want to have 100% offering. I wouldn't like to have a client who comes to me and says, "Oh, I will replace my 5 tons of perfume now, but my natural, but I stick with synthetic active ingredients and bases and so on, but I think the perfume." I will try to discuss with them and say, okay, maybe it's not necessary now. Okay, that's everybody's decision at the end. But still, honestly, I haven't seen that, so I don't think it's a big risk. But because of price and everything, to your point, for me, it's yes, absolutely. As I said before, I wouldn't like to see the whole industry moving to naturals. On the other side, I was, I think, 3 weeks ago with IFRA, Europe. We had a big regulatory meeting with the EU representative, the high level of the EU delegation looking into the revision of CLP and REACH. And we were discussing about the future of essential oils, right? Because for us, for our industry, it's absolutely crucial. And I think, if you see what it means, essential oils, it's the perfumery industry, like the food industry, like the aromatherapy, are vital resources for these people. Sustainability, we always think about sourcing, and we also think about nature and depleting the planet. And absolutely there, most of the people we work with, most of the essential oil producers, they are like, even if they're not bio-certified, organic certified, most of them, they have learned to respect nature. You cannot force vanilla. You cannot force, your lavender. You cannot boost it with a lot and then have twice two harvests a year. And if you do, I think it's the wrong approach anyway. So yes, it's going to be limited. And we have to respect that. On the other side, we have to see that in many places in Europe, for example, but all over the world, essential oil is sourced all over the world. You have a lot of villages, farmers that are depending on these cultures as well. And I was just personally to our partners in Bulgaria. They started to have this vision as a young couple. They want to restart the culture of lavender in the villages in the north, usually north east. Usually it's more done in the south and in the west. So they said, okay, we want the challenge, because when our grandfathers were there or grandparents were there, they had lavender oil, and the village was living out of that. Now they want to bring that. So all this when we talk about sustainability, it's all the CSR aspect. So another example, I don't remember exactly, don't quote me on that, but there are hundreds of thousands of, if not millions of tons of CO2 that are being caught up by the lemon tree in the south of Spain, which is a very important culture. And in Calabria, you have the same thing for the Gabon. So the question we have to ask is that if we don't grow this, what will we grow? What would these people do? So let's use that when it makes sense, but let's not just say, we don't want to use any essential oils anymore. So that will be my answer on that.
Thank you very much, Michel. Céline, do you want to complete and to comment?
Comment, I think it's a very good answer. We mustn't forget that, as Richard told us, we don't use a lot of perfume. It's a small quantity in the formula, so I'm not sure everybody will make a culture just for one essential oil. No, I think the answer of Richard was very complete. I cannot add something else.
Thank you. No, but that's a good point.
Yeah.
A good point. The quantity that we use in product is really
Very small.
So it's and also this natural imprinting smell. It's very important because we are now a lot living in cities, and we need this connection with nature in terms of emotion and brains, and this also that perfumery is bringing to people. So it's also very important, and it's why aromatherapy, essential oil, and even connects industries such as all this meditation industry who use this, not really not the beauty industry directly. It's also very important. So okay, thank you very much. So time is running. I don't know if we still have question. I just would like to maybe look at the chat if there is some question from the audience. So I saw that there is one question regarding the fragrance-free cosmetics. There is a dilemma from consumer who wants more and more fragrance-free cosmetics, and it's all over the world, as you know. But they are scared of allergens because they are scared of allergens. And yes, the question is, what do you think about hidden fragrance ingredients? As that's an interesting question, and what problems they might cause. So that's really, this type of formulation. So maybe Céline, you can start, or it's written on the packaging fragrance free, and when you look at the inky, you see a dione or you see the molecule which brings an odor.
Yes, when people ask us to develop a fragrance-free product, we don't use that kind of product because it can add some other allergens or other problems. I think to make a good fragrance-free product, we have to think about each smell of each ingredient. So it's difficult at the beginning, but if we don't have a very high smell in the basis of the base of the product, it will be okay, and we don't have to use other product. But we can use there are ingredients that can not mask, but it's difficult to say it.
Maybe
to erase other smells. It's not chemical. For example, you've got triethyl citrate that can block other bad smells, and I'm not sure it can add some problems to the finished product. So I think it's better to work like this than use other ingredients to mask bad smells.
Interesting, and to anticipate, as you said,
yeah,
to anticipate upfront when you start your project development.
Yeah, because if we, for example, the client want to add an algae extract, it will be difficult to have a product without a smell. So I think it's better to choose active ingredients that are in coherence with what they want at the end.
Okay. And we know that also, yes, there are some active ingredients such as vitamin C, which oxidate and develop this iron smell. But I remember also, as you mentioned, a formula which from the ingredient, we had a neutral odor and or at least almond, a little bit almond odor. So, Richard, do you want to add some comments on this point? Oh.
No, I think it's you're experts. I'm not, but I think that it's very important. Again, the basic of defining, the basic principle of defining what you want to have at the end is very important. Be it to to choose the perfume or not to have a perfume in a formulation. I think it's the same for all of us. The other thing is that absolutely, I think if you have a formulation that is specifically needs to be without fragrance, do it without fragrance if you can. We don't need to put fragrance everywhere. Now, on the other side, we know that there's a lot of formulation where, as I said, the fragrance is bringing pleasure. Is bringing. We all have this. We don't want to talk about it. You take your shower in the morning with a fresh, then you full boosted and so on. You mentioned the trends about aromatherapy and yoga and so on, using a lot more of the whole home fragrance, basically environment and so on. So again, for me, it's a question of where to use it. And I definitely we have also this question, and sometimes we tell the same thing. I'm happy with Céline said this. If you don't want a fragrance, you have to start from the start, because we have a lot of clients who say we didn't want the fragrance, but now we have to cover. Can you do a fragrance without allergen and so on, but still covers? And that's usually the answer is no, it's not possible. So absolutely make sure from the beginning you define what that you want a fragrance-free formulation.
Yes, so thank you very much. And as we are on the creative process, I have an interesting question on do you think that the creative process with natural ingredients, so to bring a natural fragrance, is harder and longer for the fragrance designer?
So as I said, I'm not, if I talk to some of my perfume friends in my previous life, they won't like the answer. No, I don't think it is harder, and it is harder if you don't master it. And I think it's the same thing, creation with totally open playbox, I would say, seems to be easy, but in fact it's the most difficult. So if you have everything at disposal, it could be overwhelming. Now, as I said, we have a very limited creation box, the perfumers, but they know it by heart. They know how to combine things. So of course, it doesn't come in 6 months. You have the passion for that, because it could be very frustrating. So yes, certain notes are very easy, very simple, like for any single perfumers, in normal world. Some others are very challenging, and that could be frustrating, because for the perfumers, they don't come to what they want. Because don't forget that they all start by learning the normal perfumery, and they still create normal perfumes for clients who have projects where it's not necessary to have a natural perfume. So, and I think that that's sometimes a little bit the frustration that the perfumers can have. And yes, then in this case, it's going to be a longer process. It's also sometimes frustration for our clients, because typically in fine fragrance, they would like to reach the same thing, but they have in their mind a very opulent fragrance, for example. And even if we tell them, it's going to be extremely difficult to do something in this direction, we will spend, all of us, a lot of time. And at the end of the day, maybe everybody will feel a bit frustrated. And often, typically, we solve that by saying, they say, okay, you know what? I don't want 100% natural. I'm going to go to 95. It's enough, but at least I've done the maximum I can do. And again, for me, absolutely okay if you communicate that correctly. But it's not our responsibility. We are selling the concentrate. We're not selling the finished product. But I think that's yes, it could be harder. It could be take longer time, a bit more, bring more frustration. But it's not for the majority of our creation. I think I would say 90% now for us, it will take the same time for my perfumers to create than it takes to create a normal synthetic fragrance.
Okay. And to complete this question from Alexandra, there were also another point, which is so you said it's longer and harder, and so does it impact the price independently of the cost of the
No, I mean it depends. I think every fragrance house are their model, but usually, you know, like everything, you take an average creation cost for your perfume, because at least at Essencia, we don't start to cost every single step, because over the time it's you know, part of the project costs. If the client pays for it, or if it's part of the service we offer to regular clients and so on. So we don't calculate like that. I think when definitely the price is really influenced by two factors, and the one is the cost of the raw materials. I give you a very simple example. You have a node that is called 6,3-hexanol, which is typically, if you go to a garden and you cut a tulip or the green grass, this is this fresh green grass node. I mean, I'm not sure how it comes through the webinar, but everybody who has the chance to smell that will know it immediately. Oh yeah, that reminds me of that. And then 10 years ago, it was only synthetic. I think it was introduced 6 or 7 years ago. And it solved a lot the problem of the green node, for example. Thanks that we have a lot of green nodes that we can do. But yes, we had to learn how to combine them and so on. So that's our learning. You know, perfumers are learning every day, and they are like every artist. It's by creation that they learn, and they keep improving their skills and trying a new combination and so on. But I think the price is just about 3 to 4 times more expensive than the synthetic pen, and that's the way it has to be, because it's much lower quantities. It's maybe a much more complicated, not a much more complicated, but more expensive process for the producers. There are reasons. So our raw materials are just a factor of, in average, 2 to 3 more expensive. That's the reality that we have. Except again, if you take lemon oil, it's the same price if you use it in synthetic as if you use it for natural, of course.
Okay.
But don't forget also when you the quantity of perfume is really small in the formula, so the price of the perfume, it will impact the global price, but it's not the main price, the price for the formula. So you can use a high price for perfume, but it won't change a lot in your cost, in your global cost.
Thank you very much. But yes, and if we can make an example, maybe from a designer fragrance. I'm not a perfumer also, but you remember the cologne? It's 4.5% of oil in the fine fragrance. And so it's really very low comparing to now natural, comparing to fine fragrance natural now, which can increase till 20%, La Vie est Belle or others like this. And in a cologne, it's really a lot of natural. I won't mention it to you, you know that. So yes, it depends really of the type of product and the type of product you are working on. Yes. Very interesting. So I think, do we have other question, Lisa, on the chat? I don't know if we still have time to have another question.
Yeah, we can do 2 more. So
2 more. Okay, thank you very much. So yes, I have a question on do you have natural fragrances for use? Maybe it's very operational, so maybe we can. This question you can answer after, but I ask the question to Céline and to Richard. Do you have natural Cosmo or EcoCert fragrances for use in creams that are suitable for atopic skin?
Okay, I think it's a really difficult topic because atopic skin is really sensitive. So it's difficult to say use a perfume for atopic skin. On my side, I won't use perfume for in an atopic skin product, but the client may want one. I'm not sure it can be a good idea, but maybe in Essencia you can develop a low allergen product.
Yeah, again, I think you're right. I think we are part of the formulation. If possible, without perfume, it's probably better. Having said that, it might be nice to give at least to mask a little bit the notes of the cream. As I said before, there are a couple of allergen-free fragrances in 100% natural that are Cosmos. Typically, we go according Cosmos natural, and it used to be EcoCert before. Huh? Let's not forget that. So, yes, it's possible. Typically, we developed a couple of years ago a collection of mother care, baby care fragrances that were low or allergen-free. Also that's okay, but they are typically the same kind of notes because, as I mentioned before, typically you don't use any essential oils for these fragrances, so it's kind of a carrying and very maybe a slight floral notes and is in direction. So it is possible, but there's not a wide variety of that. And typically, as you said, for not being a dermatologist myself, I think when I hear that, I would prefer to say first thing, try without perfume. And if you need something, then do something that is masking. So very low dosage, as low as less allergen, if not any. And that's how I would basically we'll discuss with our clients on that.
Thank you very much. I think we have a last question, and after we will wrap up the webinar. So the last question, and are your natural fragrances also suitable to formulate sun care products? If yes, how can first know which one, and two, compare which of the certification you mentioned apply to each of them?
Okay. So I will take the fragrance side, and Céline, please jump in, or you, Anne, in terms of formulation, whatever, because I think so. Typically for sun care application, we have quite a large collection of fragrances. So which one and so on, I would ask the person to kindly contact us directly, because we're not going to go. But just that you understand, we have more than nearly 1,000 natural fragrances that are in our libraries, and we create every day one, or every week at least 3 or 4 new ones. So some of them will fit perfectly well for sun application. From a fragrance point of view, the challenges are mainly in terms of the type of smell that you have. It could be the whole question of the furokumarin. So especially for people in Switzerland, but also some of you in the EU, the rest of the world, usually you adopt the recognized threshold value for furokumarin, but the Swiss authorities wanted to have a much restricted version as the EU. So there's big discussion around that with IFRA again and our national authorities. So we tend to use typically to avoid using bergamot or essential oils like that are not good. They are known, they are not good in application in sun product. So there are certain restrictions, as I said, so that might restrict a little bit the type of scent that you want. On the other side, sun product tend to are more or less always smelling in a couple of directions, but I don't think I ever had a green, fresh green sun product ever in my life. So maybe you did, but it would be maybe something to try, but I don't think it exists. So it's quite restrictive collection, but it's more from the olfactive side for us. So the answer, the short answer was yes, there are absolutely. And then I don't know then, Céline, in terms of the formulation, if there are other things that the fragrance is performing less well, or I don't know that.
In terms of formulation, it's the same for cream or sun care. I just have to look to the photostability of the perfume. If you have test about it, for a sun care product we need really good photostability.
And if I may join in here as well, because this person was asking where to find these, I think Covalo actually might be your answer to this. I can give a very quick demo just to show what it would look like. So let me quickly share my screen with you. So this is covalo.com, and if we quickly search for Essencia here, all the ingredients by Essencia will show up. I'm just quickly going to do like this. So these are all the ingredients by Essencia. What I'm going to do now is going into the filter. So this person, I think Maria, right, was looking for the application sun care. So we can go into here. Here's a quick tip. If you sort by name, it makes it so much easier to find them. So you can get into after sun. Let's go to the S for sun care. Here we go. Sun care, sun protection, and sun cream. So here we already have 13 ingredients that are suitable for sun care according to, well, what Essencia put on the platform.
Fresh cucumber.
Absolutely, because we thought it would be quite a nice, a novelty, but you really seem interesting for the fresh cucumber for sun. Just maybe thank you, Lisa, to show that, because definitely it's better if you do it than if I do it. But I think just to say, this is typically in Covalo, we have, it's very difficult to sell a perfume or to demonstrate a perfume on a webinar or on an Excel spreadsheet or through. So the reason why we discuss with Covalo, we offer a typical collection that we pre-select for that. And that will be the, I call that the entry collections for you. You're new, you're looking for a perfume that is for sun application. We are happy to discuss with you, and that could be a good way in terms of the olfactive direction, whatever you say, okay, I'm interesting to get sample from that. But of course, after that, we might develop for you or select from the rest of the collection others. So just to add on this.
Exactly. And then Maria was also asking about the certifications that have been mentioned. So this you can also find using our filters. So we can go into certifications over here. So you can see, for example, Cosmos, we've been talking about, Not True. So you also already have like a selection of ingredients that could fit your formulations. Now, if you want to have a compared look, you can click on this button here to compare. You can select up to 4 ingredients over here and then compare them. So you can see them all side by side. So you can compare, for example, performance claims, sustainability claims. So just going back to the ingredients as well. Here we go. So back to this. Yeah, so this is how you use the filters as well. I'm just going to quickly clear them again. And just as a little teaser before we wrap up this webinar, I just wanted to let you know that we soon will have a filter available as well, which will allow you to filter by the fragrance note. This will be called odor. So this will also be on the left side panel on Covalo. So make sure to check that out soon. And now I'll hand over to Anne again to wrap up.
Thank you very much, Lisa. No, it's very, very interesting. And we are at the end of unfortunately, at the end of this webinar. So I would like to thank the audience for their time, and also to thank our guest speaker, Céline and Richard, for their discussion and their expertise and experience sharing. So thank you very much. Everybody. I thank also Covalo for organizing this seminar, webinar. And if you have any question for Covalo, please, for the people who have not already registered online, you can register your account for Covalo. You have a free account. It's very easy. And if you have any question to Covalo, you can address to info@covalo.com. And if you have other specific question, you will receive our email, the email of Richard from Essencia, and the email of Céline, and also my email if you need to. And also, I'm sorry, I look at my note not to forget everything, anything. Replay will be available also on YouTube very soon. So Covalo will also give you the warning. If you have registered this webinar, you will receive a warning for the video replay. So I think we are done. So thank you very much, everyone, and see you to a next webinar. And I'm very pleased to meet or to have met all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.